The American government proudly claimed that not even a bird could fly out of this prison. But 3 clever inmates used their sharp minds to shatter that impossible claim so completely that the whole world was left stunned. Today I'm going to tell you the mastermind story of a prison break that will send chills down your spine. So buckle up, because this journey is going to be dark, full of suspense, and dangerous. Sitting right in the middle of San Francisco Bay, this was no ordinary prison. It was known as Alcatraz, a fortress that seemed impossible to break out of. The prison was deliberately built on an island about 2.5 kilometers from the mainland. The water around it was so cold that a person's blood could start freezing within minutes, and the currents were so violent that even the world's best swimmers wouldn't survive them. To keep the prisoners scared, a rumor was spread that the waters around Alcatraz were full of hungry sharks. This prison held America's most dangerous and unpredictable criminals, men that no other prison could handle. Even feared mob bosses like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly broke down in tears behind these bars. Security here was so tight that one armed guard was posted for every 3 inmates, around the clock. Prisoners were counted more than 12 times a day, so no one could move even an inch out of place. The prison walls were made of thick concrete and steel, nearly impossible to break through. Even if an inmate somehow got out of his cell, he'd still have to get past towering prison walls. Guards patrolled these walls with sniper rifles, under strict shoot-to-kill orders. And even if someone got past the guards, the deadly ocean waiting outside would finish the job. In short, stepping into Alcatraz meant disappearing from the outside world forever. The eerie silence and the frightening sound of the ocean slowly drove many prisoners to the edge of their sanity. The American government and police were extremely proud of this prison, convinced it was escape-proof. They believed that not even a ghost could escape Alcatraz alive, but they had no idea that 3 cunning minds were quietly plotting to destroy that pride completely. The real story begins in the 1960s, when some very particular prisoners arrived at Alcatraz. The first and most dangerous of them was Frank Morris, a man whose mind worked like a machine. His IQ was 133, placing him among the top 2% of the smartest people in the world. He'd been an orphan since childhood and had spent much of his life escaping from one prison after another. Alongside him were 2 brothers, John Anglin and Clarence Anglin, experts in bank robbery with long histories of prison escape attempts. The 4th member of the group was Alan West, a skilled and clever car mechanic. By sheer luck, all 4 of them ended up in cells right next to each other in this high-security prison. During lunch breaks or time in the exercise yard, they would exchange quiet signals while planning their daring escape. Frank Morris quickly realized that trying to break out using brute force was impossible. To outsmart Alcatraz, they needed a plan no one had ever thought of before, not weapons. The guards saw them as dumb, uneducated inmates, a mistake that would come back to haunt them. The 4 men made a pact. Either they would walk free from this prison, or they would rather drown in the sea trying. They had nothing left to lose, but an entire world of freedom waiting to be won. Frank Morris began scanning every corner of the prison with sharp, hawk-like eyes, searching for the smallest flaw that could show him a way out. After months of studying the prison's routine, the guards' schedules, and the structure of the walls, an idea finally clicked in his mind. He found a weakness that even the engineers who built Alcatraz had overlooked. Something so small that an ordinary person would never have noticed it. This is where the real story of the most spine-chilling, seemingly impossible prison break begins. Morris noticed that the Alcatraz building wasn't as strong as everyone claimed. Years of damp sea air and salty water had slowly weakened the walls from the inside. At the bottom of each cell wall was a small ventilation grill that let air in. Morris discovered that the concrete around this grill had become soft and crumbly due to moisture. If something kept scraping away at that concrete, the grill could eventually be pried loose. The question was, what lay behind that grill? According to the prison's blueprint, there was a utility corridor running right behind all the cells. This corridor was like a narrow, dark tunnel where all the prison's pipes and wires ran through. No guard ever went in there because it was considered a completely sealed-off, useless space. If the prisoners could dig through their cell walls into this corridor, they could make their way all the way up to the roof. The plan sounded simple, but carrying it out was like trying to move a mountain with bare hands. They had no shovel, hammer, or drill to dig through the wall. And they had to do it in complete silence. Even the smallest sound could alert the guards. If the guards ever found out, all 4 of them would be thrown into solitary confinement for good. But Morris had a clever answer ready for every obstacle. He told his companions they didn't need outside tools, they would build their own equipment using ordinary items already inside the prison. This is where the prisoners' engineering minds truly began to shine. Every step of this plan risked their lives. One small mistake meant certain death. Night after night, while the whole prison slept in silence, their dangerous mission slowly took shape. The first thing they needed was tools to dig through the wall, and they didn't have any. So the Anglin brothers used their sharp wits and began stealing ordinary spoons from the prison canteen. They filed these spoons against the walls until they became sharp, knife-like tools. But digging through concrete with just spoons would have taken years, far too slow. So they built a device that would amaze even today's engineers. They cleverly stole the motor from a vacuum cleaner used for cleaning the prison. By attaching a guitar string and one of the sharpened spoons to this motor, they built a makeshift drill, one that worked almost exactly like the drill a dentist uses in a clinic. Now they had a powerful tool to dig through the wall. But there was still a big problem. The motor-powered drill made a lot of noise that could easily catch the guards' attention. To solve this, Frank Morris pulled off another masterstroke. Prisoners at Alcatraz were allowed to play musical instruments in the evenings. Morris cleverly took up playing a loud instrument called the accordion. Every evening, while Morris played it as loudly as he could, the sound would echo throughout the prison. Using that noise as cover, the other 3 would quietly drill away at their cell walls. This went on, night after night, for months, and the guards never noticed a thing. Whatever debris or rubble came loose, they'd stuff into their pockets and quietly scatter it outside in the prison yard. Very similar to the scene from the film, The Shawshank Redemption. Watching the courage and patience of these men, it truly seems like the hunger for freedom can push a person to do almost anything. Eventually, the hole in the wall was big enough for a person to crawl through. But hiding it during the 12 daily inspections was the hardest part. If a guard ever glanced into the cell properly, the hole would be impossible to miss. To solve this problem, they once again turned to their creative skills. Using old magazines, newspapers, and toilet paper soaked in water, they made a paper match paste and shaped it into a replica of the real ventilation grill. To make it look authentic, they stole green paint from the prison's art class and painted the fake grill to match the real one perfectly. Whenever guards came for inspection, the prisoners would simply prop this fake grill in front of the hole. From a distance, no one could tell that there was no wall behind it at all. As extra cover, they even placed their dirty clothes and shoes in front of it, so the guards' eyes would never linger there. Every night, before going to sleep, they'd remove the fake grill, crawl through the hole, and slip into that dark utility corridor, which had now become their secret workshop, where they prepared the rest of their escape plan. So far, everything was going smoothly, and the guards remained completely unaware, blissfully confident in their prison's security. But the prisoners knew that just getting out of the building wasn't enough. Real danger awaited them in the ocean outside. Escaping Alcatraz meant crossing 2.5 kilometers of open water, icy cold enough to be nearly a death sentence for any swimmer. So they needed some kind of boat, and since there was obviously no boat lying around inside a prison, they had to build one themselves. This is where the second, and most dangerous, part of their plan began, one that's truly hard to believe. To survive the deadly waves, they needed a life raft. They decided to make one using the raincoats issued to prisoners. John and Clarence Anglin quietly stole more than 50 raincoats from fellow inmates in the storeroom. Turning these raincoats into a sturdy boat was no small task. It required real scientific know-how. They came up with a clever method using steam to fuse the pieces of rubber raincoat together. Using steam from hot water pipes running through their secret corridor, they melted the rubber and sealed the seams, a process known as vulcanization, which bonds rubber so tightly that water can't get through. Think about it. Men who had barely finished school were working like scientists inside a prison cell. After months of hard work, they built a sturdy 14-foot boat out of raincoats. Along with the boat, they also made life jackets from the same material. They still needed a way to inflate the boat, so they modified an old musical instrument into a makeshift pump. For paddles, they carefully carved pieces of wood from the prison. This entire setup was hidden away in that dark corridor no guard would ever think to check. By now, their escape route and their means of crossing the ocean were both ready. But one huge danger still hung over their heads like a sword: the nightly headcount. Guards would shine flashlights into each cell several times a night to check on prisoners. If they weren't found in their beds, the alarm would go off immediately, and they'd be caught before they even got away. To deal with this, Frank Morris came up with an idea that would go down in history. He decided they would create realistic dummy heads to place on their pillows, so it would look like they were sleeping soundly. This turned out to be the most dramatic part of the entire escape, something straight out of a Hollywood movie. To make convincing fake heads, they mixed toilet paper, soap, and concrete dust into a strong clay-like paste. From this, they sculpted lifelike human heads, complete with realistic-looking noses, ears, and eyes. They stole paint from the art class to give the fake heads a natural skin tone. But paint alone wasn't enough. The heads needed real-looking hair too. The Anglin brothers, who worked in the prison barbershop, secretly collected clippings of real hair and smuggled them back to their cells. They carefully glued strand after strand of real hair onto the dummy heads. By the time the fake heads were finished, they looked so realistic that even the prisoners themselves were a little frightened by them. The plan was simple. On the night of the escape, they'd place these dummy heads on their pillows and pull the blankets up. When a guard shone a flashlight into the cell in the dark, all he'd see would be what looked like real hair and a sleeping head. This trick would buy them roughly 9 to 10 hours before anyone realized they were missing a masterstroke that completely fooled Alcatraz's tight security. Now everything was finally ready: the boat, the tools, and the dummy heads. All they needed was the right night, when the weather would be bad and the guards distracted. They chose the date, June 11, 1962, a night that would go down in American history. As the moment approached, all four men's hearts raced, knowing there was no turning back. Between them and freedom now stood only a concrete wall and a few miles of open sea. And then, that night finally arrived. The night they would roll the final, most dangerous dice of their lives. It was 9:30 p.m., and the lights out siren had already sounded across Alcatraz. Silence fell over the prison, broken only by the terrifying sound of waves crashing against the walls. This was the moment. Frank Morris removed the fake grill from his cell and signaled to his companions. As planned, Morris and the two Anglin brothers placed the eerie fake heads on their pillows, arranging the blankets to look like someone was sleeping soundly beneath them. With hearts pounding, the three men slipped through the small hole in the wall and into the corridor. But here, the story takes a shocking and unexpected turn. Alan West, the fourth member who had played a crucial role in the plan, simply couldn't get out of his cell. The concrete around his hole had hardened more than expected, and the fake grill he'd fitted had stuck fast, refusing to budge. Drenched in sweat, West struggled desperately to break it loose, but he couldn't push too hard for fear of making noise. Morris and the Anglin brothers tried everything they could to help him from the other side, but nothing worked. Time was slipping away fast, and staying any longer risked all of them getting caught. With a heavy heart, Frank Morris made the painful decision to leave Alan West behind and move forward without him. For West, it was the most devastating moment imaginable. Watching his freedom slip away right in front of his eyes. Now, only 3 men remained, ready to risk everything to reach the roof. They climbed up through the dark corridor, using the pipes to scale nearly 30 feet up toward the ventilation shaft, moving like spiders in the darkness. At the top was a large fan they had already loosened using their homemade tools. With all their strength, they pried it off and finally emerged onto the roof of Alcatraz. Stepping onto the roof, they were hit by cold wind and the roar of the ocean below. They were now out in the open, but standing right in the guards' line of fire. Reaching the roof was only half the battle. The real danger was just beginning. Several guards patrolled the rooftop, and searchlights from the watchtowers swept across constantly. They had to crawl low, hugging the ground, staying out of the light's path. A single glance from a guard could mean instant gunfire without warning. To climb down from the roof, they had to use a 50-foot bakery exhaust pipe running down the outer wall. Holding their breath, the 3 men strapped their heavy raincoat boat to their backs and began climbing down the old, fragile pipe. Any noise from it breaking or shaking could have meant certain death. But luck was on their side that night, and they made it down silently. Once on the ground, they reached the outer perimeter fence, with the ocean just 15 feet away. They climbed over a 15-foot barbed wire fence and reached the shoreline. They pulled out their makeshift pump and began frantically inflating the raincoat boat. In the darkness, the powerful waves seemed almost eager to swallow them whole. Once the boat was inflated, all 3 climbed aboard and pushed off using their wooden paddles. At exactly 10:30 p.m., the 3 dangerous fugitives disappeared into the dark ocean, leaving Alcatraz behind. Inside the prison, the guards were calmly sipping tea, believing their prisoners were fast asleep in their cells. They had no idea that the pride of America's most secure prison had just washed away with the tide. The night slowly passed, and the coming morning would bring a storm that would shake the entire nation. At 7 a.m., the morning siren rang out across Alcatraz to wake the prisoners. Guards went about their usual duty, checking each cell and counting inmates. When a guard reached Frank Morris's cell, he saw that Morris still appeared to be asleep. The guard banged on the wall and shouted for him to wake up, but there was no movement from the bed. Only Morris's hair was visible peeking out from under the blanket. Annoyed, the guard opened the cell door and walked over to shake him awake. But the moment he touched the head on the pillow, he let out a horrified scream. The head rolled off the pillow and hit the floor, leaving only fake hair in the guard's hand. He staggered back in shock, momentarily thinking he'd grabbed someone's severed head. Within seconds, an emergency siren blared across Alcatraz, a sound that shook the whole city of San Francisco. Guards rushed to the Anglin brothers' cell and found the same eerie fake heads waiting there too. The prison warden was stunned. The prison's proud reputation lay shattered, and the ground seemed to disappear beneath his feet. America's supposedly escape-proof prison had just been outsmarted using nothing more than soap, spoons, and toilet paper. A search of the prison quickly uncovered the hole and the secret workshop behind the wall. Alan West, who never managed to escape his own cell, confessed the entire plan to the police out of fear. Within hours, the FBI, Coast Guard, and hundreds of police helicopters swarmed the waters around the island. One of the largest search operations in history was launched across the sea and sky to find the 3 escapees. Every news channel in America ran the same headline: "The Impossible Escape from Alcatraz." But despite the massive search, there was no trace of the men or their boat anywhere in the water. The whole world was left wondering the same question: did the 3 of them survive? Or did the ocean swallow them whole? Picture the scene for a moment: pitch darkness, freezing wind, and water hovering near 0 degrees. Their flimsy raincoat boat would have been tossed around by the waves like a child's toy. Every wave crashing against it would have felt like a whip made of ice against their skin. They must have paddled with everything they had, gasping for breath, torn between the thrill of freedom and the constant terror of death closing in. Somewhere out in the middle of the ocean, the stitching on the raincoat boat may have started coming apart, letting water seep in. Imagine the horror of realizing your boat is slowly sinking beneath you. Did sharks begin circling beneath their feet? It's a chilling thought. If they fell into the water, hypothermia could have paralyzed their bodies within minutes. Did they scream for help, their voices swallowed by the roar of the sea? Or did their sharp minds somehow guide them safely through the waves to shore? This remains one of the most mysterious and unresolved journeys in history, the truth of which no one has ever been able to confirm. The FBI believed that surviving such freezing water and reaching the shore alive was scientifically almost impossible. But then again, for men who could carve through concrete with a spoon, is anything truly impossible?